That's what this is. It's my job.
It's the only thing that's making you money at the moment.
All right, let's go. Hello, folks. Welcome to the stream. We're doing fucking Stones to Abbigale.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
surprise! Not live. I haven't broken quarantine.
Yeah, we're not being stupid or anything.
Well, we are being stupid. We're subjecting ourselves to Onision's writing, but
It does look quite funny that Matt looks like he's teabagging you.
oh yes, that is very funny.
Yeah. So I did not, in fact, decide to travel. I don't know how, at least half-hour train trip up to Jacob's place, followed by a 20-minute walk just to reach Stones to Abbigale at 9 in the evening during a vicious outbreak of a murder plague. We're just reading it at home, so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna close the window just because, you know.
Just because of loud noises.
Yes, loud noises.
All those people. You don't want to hear all those people having fun on the beach during the sunny day. Do you see that shit?
Oh, fucking morons, mate. Absolute morons. Speaking of morons, we're hopping on into Stones to Abbigale here, my friends. This, we about to start chapter 8 and all that. Oh, good lord. Oh, good lord, good lord. Right.
Oh, this is gonna be so much fun.
How's everybody doing? How's everyone enjoying quarantine? Let's take a moment.
Tell us about your fascinating days of sitting inside and not going to the park and such.
I've had a really exciting couple of weeks, mate. There's been B movies. There's been day drinking.
Yep.
What have you been up to, Matt?
I've just been playing Doom Eternal, basically. That's about it.
I replayed Fallout 4.
All of it.
Well, I'm about halfway through.
Don't break quarantine to read Onision literature at 3 a.m.
Oh, we should have done this at 3 a.m.
It worked, gone wrong.
Meeting Thanos at 2 a.m. despite what the government says.
I love like J Station. Oh, well, he's not on YouTube anymore. But like, NNA Productions just like it's like meeting the boys at 3 a.m. despite the advice of experts. Back to the good old days of Matt's shitty microphone. Yeah, it's like fucking vintage bad CREEPYPASTA up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, how is the sound online? People in the chat.
Yeah, I think I mean, it sounds alright to us, but how does it sound to the chat? And is it even? Is his voice like hilariously louder than ours or anything like that? Just let us know. I almost forgot.
Okay,
I almost forgot that J Station was gone. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to think about, isn't it?
what happened?
So J Station, who is an absolutely terrible YouTuber who we made fun of, he got kicked off the platform, and it's very funny.
Good. I did like that one video I saw of him. Now we just need to get the rest of them up against the wall when the revolution comes. Should we crack on?
Sounds the way it used to in 2013. Yeah, it's like Soot House. It's fine. Warm and buttery, apparently, says. I have no idea how to pronounce his name, and it looks like Eki Ouija. I have no idea. Who gives a shit? Honestly,
he just slapped his hand on the keyboard when writing his name.
Intentionally giving himself a very, very difficult name to pronounce. And you know what? I don't fuck with that. I don't trust like that.
Calling J Station's career at 3 a.m.
Oh my god, he answered. Because he's like a ghost, get it? Because, you know, his career is absolutely dead. Alright, so... all I can remember from the last stream was school shooting, Greg wearing Heelys to stop a school shooting. And
No, he was wearing high heels.
And Rocket
He came to school just as a hooker.
No, because he genuinely roller skated in, didn't he? We're like, well, what would have been better is if he had Heelys. Because then he wouldn't have to take...
He jumped off the back of a bus or something.
Yeah, he jumped off the bus. The bit that I remember is that he had to take his roller skates off to continue, so he didn't slip in the blood, which was thoroughly retarded.
Yes, it was.
All right, guys, so let's jump in the retardis and let's get going with Chapter 8. Lakewood High.
With writing like that, you could write for the BBC, Jacob.
My God, you know, the guy who's show running for Doctor Who right now has got the most smug face ever. This is the kind of guy that, like, Rian Johnson would look at him and be like, you know what, dude? That's a smug face. I want to hit you.
Yeah, like a bit off track. Like, I don't watch or really care about, but I was watching some of the guy who does, and it was just like to report like the guy, the showrunner for Doctor Who, because the BBC doesn't need profit, he can basically do whatever he wants, and even though the ratings for Doctor Who are dropping like a fucking meteor, he's still gonna keep going with this bullshit. It's like sort of sadly hilarious.
It is pure Rian Johnsoning though, isn't it? Like it's that attitude of I don't give a shit if anyone likes it. Like I don't get that contempt for your audience shit. Like, oh. Maybe that's because like it's very different what we do here, which is like entirely based on whether or not people watch it. Whereas like you say with the BBC, because they're because of all that stolen money, licensing, the literal trillions they've stolen from the public.
Literally the only thing that's any good about the BBC is Inside Number 9.
Yeah, and you can watch that on Netflix.
Yep.
Let's go. Lakewood High struggled at first. We all did. But as promised... Oh, I'm coming very loud through your mic there.
Mine? Me? What?
Yeah. My voice was blasting out of the speakers then. All right. But as promised, the school was operating once again and welcoming students back. Abby had returned home a few days prior, telling me how much crap she was going to give her dad for up and abandoning her for so long. But we both knew he rarely showed any interest in what she had to say. I suppose we both like to think of our fathers in a way that made us feel like they could care from time to time. In a strange way, we both felt safer after the incident. I mean, safer than you were during the incident, certainly. Oddly enough, I felt safer when the gunfire stopped.
Yeah, nothing helps you build up confidence in surviving a fucking shooting. It's like an inoculation. You get it once and then you're immune to it.
But Mrs. Tinfoil, this is a vaccine against autism. Sorry, just hate anti-vaxxers so much. Vaccine that stops you being, affected by chemtrails, right?
Well, the only thing that we shouldn't do is let them watch The Predator, because then they'll know.
They'll know, yeah, that they mustn't vaccinate. They must vaccinate their kids, because then those kids will become the next stage in human evolution.
Yeah.
What's with your kid? Well, he hates too much light and sound, and he doesn't get along with other children. Oh wow, truly the next stage in our evolution. Knowing that someone who had beaten Abby, someone who had terrorized her life, was now completely unable to harm her again. Can we have a moment of silence for our boy Seth Armstrong with his mighty mustache? Did I say a moment of silence, Jim? Or did I say a moment of laughter? Female, be quiet.
Back to the kitchen with you.
Or anyone, for that matter. We learned he had barely survived Jason's beatings, but was left in a coma, according to the news reports, in both the papers and on TV. If you want to know what a coma is like, Matt can tell you. On our first day back...
It's great fun. You wake up and you think you're part of a Disney movie.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're terrified because you think, you've been shit-talking Maui when you were insensible, and now he's going to get revenge.
On the bright side, I've got all that gold on my back.
I was listening to that earlier, Shiny. I was a very exciting day of doing housework and blasting Disney villain songs. Oh God, I want this nightmare to end.
You know, like in like years when like people talk about the, like, you know, that event, that like fucking defining event of the 2020s, unless something else worse happens, but hopefully not. You know, like that has affected the entire world for like fucking years to come. Like, so what did you do? Oh, well, I sat home and listened to Disney villain movie songs.
It's exactly right. Like, how did you? It's like I was a hero during COVID-19. Wow, really? Did you volunteer? Oh heavens, no! I stayed home and drank wine at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, all right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Saving the day, one day at a time.
Just one beer at a time. It's 12 p.m.
Time is an illusion.
Lunchtime, doubly so. Right. Right. On our first day back, reporters from all over the country, and even a few countries outside the US, nice sentence, even a few countries outside the US gathered around the school.
Gathered around my door and knocked on the door.
Okay.
A bunch of reporters showed up, but I called the cops.
Like, so I don't know, like, when was this written? Because after a certain point, people being interested, like people coming from all around the world to like interview people about a school shooting is like, you know, that doesn't happen anymore. It's too common.
2015 this was written.
Yeah, whereas now it's just like, oh, it must be Tuesday. You know what? There hasn't been a single school shooting since the quarantine, so maybe the Chinese aren't so bad after all.
But Jacob, don't you know that Jacob, I hate to break it to you, but the whole, you know, like you're locked inside, you're bored. It's not real. COVID-19 is not real. It's a false flag operation by all the governments of the world, because what they're doing is they're changing the batteries in the birds because the birds aren't real.
Oh, I thought it was because of 5G.
No. It's just like they're replacing all the spy drone batteries in the birds.
I see.
Sedative.
Okay, shootings had become so common in the country, but ours was regarded as particularly significant due to the fact that Seth had claimed a staggering 52 lives, leaving only 4 of the people he shot still alive. All those lives connected directly to countless family members, friends, all now subjected to a heightened risk for depression. And just change that. And statistically, even suicide. But as we know, depression isn't real. So
Yes.
this fucking guy, this author's like a high risk of depression and suicide. You don't believe in depression, and you've told depressed people that it's their own fault. Fuck you. Seth had directly taken
What do you
so
mean he
many.
doesn't believe in depression? What, a lot of fucking Santa.
Yeah, it's just like I don't believe in cancer. You know, I mean, I just haven't seen the evidence. You know, people are like, oh, this is my my dad. He's dead from cancer. Is he? I don't know that he looks alive to me. That's a pot. That's an urn. What's wrong with you, Jacob? Why are you eating the furniture?
It's all the cancer in the brain.
Perhaps I should. Are you having some sort of brain thing? Perhaps I should call a doctor. And then I was foaming at the mouth. It was a whole thing. What was I talking about?
I think this is getting to us.
It's just like trying to read this. It's just like
I'm going slightly mad.
So, like, it's a rock and a hard place. Jacob, inside the house is this story. Outside the house is a murder virus. You need to pick between the two.
it's like it's just choice between Stones to Abbigale and like death from basically a murder plague.
Or does it cause murderers? Like if you went outside and came back in and you suddenly turned into Jack Torrance.
I think staying in is what's going to turn me to Jack Torrance. Staying here with your son is what's going to turn me into Jack Torrance.
Oh, that's right, you poor butler. You don't have it. You can't send him off to school, can you? So you're stuck with Logan all day.
Okay, let's do this story. Seth had directly taken so many, but the collateral damage done was beyond what any of us could likely imagine. Signs on all the new school doors instructed us to gather in the gymnasium. I headed to Abby's class to catch her so we could sit together. She was smiling and gave me a warm hug from behind. She said,
What did I say?
there.
You're always there for me. I have no idea what I'd do without you here.
I replied, "You don't have to worry about that, Abby. At this point, you're basically a core section of my programming." He's an android. This is the only way I can explain Onion's behavior. He is not human. When he starts screaming about kombucha, that is a fault in his positronic brain.
This turns out it's a prequel to Picard.
This is better. This is still better written than Star Trek Picard. She smiled.
Oh, there you go again with your robot talk.
I am an android.
Shadow android?
Am I an android too? I mentioned on Twitter earlier I tried playing Sonic Adventure 2. Why do people like that game? I tried playing it earlier. The controls are horrible. They're so floaty. The camera
I don't think people do like Sonic Adventure 2. I think people just like Sonic Adventure 1 for some reason.
The camera is schizophrenic and epileptic. Like it's fucking unplayable. And genuinely frustrating. Like you could be like, well, it has these problems, but it's fun. It's not fun. Like I was so bored trying to find those 3 pieces of emerald. I found 2, and the third one I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not playing this anymore.
Yeah, like Jacob, people play it for the story though. The thrilling story of Sonic Adventures.
Or you just do the Chow thing.
Yeah, I think like I've said this before, but the entire story to any modern Sonic game can be replaced with the lyrics of any Linkin Park song, and you won't tell the difference.
Like Linkin Park featuring the Seinfeld thing.
It's just like ba-doon doon doon diddly doon.
I've become so numb.
This is so boring. As we entered the gymnasium, the only noise I could hear was the sound of shuffling bags and the banging of shoes against the bleachers. Barely anyone was talking, and most everyone just looked concerned outside a couple small groups who were only quiet out of respect for the situation. Many of the students had not arrived at school yet, or evacuated before they could see anything. The amount of psychological damage avoided by that reality alone gave me a sense of comfort.
Because I could then cause that psychological damage myself.
It's just horrible. Just knowing people with gruesome images in their head that they absorbed firsthand were in the minority felt like a small victory. Abby and I sat next to Davis, who looked more upset than I had ever seen him. He looked up at me and somehow found a way to still mumble off. "Hey, buddy! Nice to see you!" I smiled and looked on, waiting for the administration to begin speaking.
Oh, by the way, you've got a...
Oh yes, Uncle Palpy. "Hello, my name is C3PDO. Human simp relations." That has no right being that funny.
Someone, fan art, please. Like Onion Boy, like CPO with an onion for a head.
My name is C3IDUPZZ.
All you'd have to do is have C3PO, but he's wearing a beanie hat and he's got a mini goatee.
Little tiny, like, puberty mustache.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I support sex workers. C3PO, it's 4 o'clock. It's time for your cog flattening. Oh my.
Oh my.
A man in a long black coat and suit walked out and introduced himself. I don't know what voice to do for this. Oh god, I'm loud again. Matt, can you be this guy?
You want me to read?
I mean, it'd be nice for you to contribute something to the stream.
I'll wait for you to... I don't know where we are. Hold on. A man... What was it? Man in a long black coat. Are you sure you want me to read? I'm trying to find it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, probably best if you do.
"Hello, I am Donald Richoff. I have been assigned by the President of the United States to address incidents like the one your school has bravely endured."
When Crooked Hillary came in here and shut up the place.
Christopher Murr says, "I joking said, yay, sweet chow action." I knew. I think that voice is probably a bit too similar to the voice I've got for Onion, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. We remained silent as he continued. I'm not going to fill this room with empty, idealistic words. Even if I tried, many of you would identify them for what they were. Complete and utter political nonsense utilized poorly as a means to save face. He paused.
The voice is actually getting more fitting.
He paused and cleared his throat. Our president believes in transparency and remaining relevant to reality, not deluding events to appear as some act of any unexplainable influence.
Oh, there goes gravity.
There was a school shooting. It's hard to even keep this voice up. One, like many of the shootings you have heard about, and while it may appear in many pessimistic minds that your government is doing nothing to make changes, so this will not happen again to another group on such a significant scale, I want you all to stop for a moment and think of your cell phones, clocks, televisions, computers, etc. What you see on the outside is rarely the full story. What you see is only the surface.
What the fuck is this guy
It's
saying?
now indistinguishable from the Onision voice, and I apologize.
Do you want to change it?
Uncle Palpy, the consent age just got 10 years higher. What you see is only the surface, the illusion created to make us believe simplicity surrounds us. It doesn't help that this character speaks just like Onision.
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to make the voice different, but the way he speaks is exactly the same as James.
Stones to Abbigale.
Like, it's like, did this guy self-insert himself again?
Yeah, he probably like he's all the characters.
He's Abigail, he's Dave. Oh, it's clearly Davis
He's
as
playing
well.
all the parts himself. Saying the Robin Hood outfit. Of course, he's the arrow in the air, and he's the blooming stag, of course. Oh, I can't keep this voice up much longer. I really hope he stops monologuing soon.
You got me monologuing.
You sly dog. Delusion credit. Alright, but underneath this thin shell, this illusion, dwells a massive and complex system that is working to achieve a goal. Every single event brings us emotionally and mentally closer to absolute intolerance. We will not rest till drastic measures are taken to prevent tragedies like this from occurring. And he's still going. Well, it's a new paragraph on the same fucking monologue. While many of you have already reached the point of complete intolerance, having seen this heinous crime unfold firsthand, much of the rest of the country, I'm done, fails to empathize. They have not lost friends, they have not lost teachers, or had their entire lives thrown into chaos. They are fortunate to have the luxury of ignorance as an option, but their luck can become a burden to the rest of us. Their oblivious state can only hurt those, like many of you, who are living in the reality we have no choice but to accept. And then the quotation marks close, and then they open again. But it's still him talking.
Because Greg can't write. He can't write anything.
In closing, the president has decided to speak. Oh my god.
President!
This is self-insert about how Greg stopped a school shooting and met the president.
Yes! I did know this.
Oh, well, as long as something really absurd doesn't happen in like another book where he kills God or something.
The president has decided to speak to each and every individual class later this week. It is not a photo opportunity. There will be no press in the rooms. The president of the United States has made a personal decision to single-handedly handle your questions and concerns to help in whatever way he can. So,
I just like, can we stop for a second and just like, well, not actually go over, but reflect on what this person just spent 3 paragraphs saying, which is basically nothing. And like, is this what you'd want to hit? Is this what you would want to hear if you're a kid in the audience and then start out saying there was a school shooting? No shit, we were there.
That moment when Onision's version of President Donald is less of a cunt than the real one. Well, this I think was written during the Obama administration, but also
how good's your Obama impression?
Oh, it's dreadful. Anybody who was at the Barack Obama ex Princess Celestia fan fiction reading will know how bad my Obama voice is. And that's when he was still in office and I was practicing the impression. It'll be much worse now.
I was there.
Just do a Clinton impression. Pretend you went back in time.
Yeah, but this is the Donald's ideal version of himself.
Do you say Donald's ideal version?
Yeah, he said this is Onision's version of himself. They said, and this is also the Donald's ideal version of himself. Everyone's the best version of themselves in this book. There were many sounds of shock indistinguishably surrounding the gymnasium. Many of us never imagined we would ever be able to see the president in person, let alone be able to talk to him. Mr. Richer, for God's sake, continued, I would now like to direct you to the screens. On each wall for your left and right, where you'll be hearing from someone many of you know and care for.
Is it Rick? Please tell me it's Rick.
The lights darkened. Kids, I know you're going through trouble right now.
Don't worry, once I come back from the ancient mines, I'll bring back the cure for death.
Just picturing if anyone's seen what's the film called? The Death of Superman Lives. They talk about a scene where they were going to have Batman appear on like a screen in the middle of Metropolis and just like give everyone these words of reassurance after Superman dies. And I thought that's what I'm picturing now. Like the only man who can talk to the people is just Rocket Fist Rick. The lights darkened as the projector's shining a school. Like just fucking punctuation. A school logo on the walls went black. Distortion now illuminated the screens as if the inputs were being shifted. Greg, learn... Oh, I can hear my voice again. Greg, learn to fucking proofread and also learn to stop having sex with children. The screen immediately after revealed my gym teacher, Mr.
Which
Mack.
do you want him to do in which order?
Well, they're both equally important, I think. Mr. Mack sitting back in his... Because to be honest with you, the sex with children thing doesn't really affect me as much, but the proofreading thing, I have to deal with that. The screen immediately after revealed my gym teacher. Blah, blah, blah. Sitting upright in his hospital bed with a bandage over his face and another covering over the side of his chest. Everyone was like, "Aw, teacher. I thought it was going to be He-Man."
Batman comes on like you said. Hey everyone, this is Batman. I know you've gone through some hard times. Like, what the fuck?
I can't remember what voice you gave Mr. Mack.
I forgot Mr. Mack was a character, if I'm honest.
It was just loud or something like that.
Oh, I think I get it.
Anyone in the chat remember? Gasps rang out all over the gymnasium. Many covering their eyes
Batman.
to momentarily escape, leaving their minds seconds to process and accept the state of one of the school's most beloved instructors. Mr. Mack had refused to speak to reporters since the incident, and most everyone was just glad to see he had, at the very least, survived.
Jacob, do you think he'll return? So it'll be...
Stop, don't do it.
The dinosaurs on the floor.
There we go.
Alright, students of Lakewood High, you can see me, but in this
You lied to me!
You can see me, but in this room, I'm just talking to a camera. I'll do my best to get through what's been running through my mind the last few days that I've been conscious.
Did he need to state that he's talking to a camera? And this is not like you see me, but I'm talking to the magic mirror.
I feel like maybe we don't know much about these kids, so maybe this is like a special school, and they're really stupid, and they're just like, "Wow, can he see us too?" It's like, children, I'm talking to a camera.
You know the things, the little clicky things that take pictures, which you can hang up on your wall.
Okay, so this story becomes completely different if the entire school is it's a special needs school. Everything becomes completely different. It explains all the characterizations and makes the school shooting actually tragic.
Yeah, I was literally thinking well, come on, dude, a school shooting is always tragic. But I was thinking that's why it's national news, because it's a special school. Like, it's a big event, like somebody went up and shot up a special needs school.
I mean, that is why he was wearing those rollerblades as he was on his way in there. It's because, he won't take them off.
Yeah. You become very violent if you try to take them off.
It's just, since Greg's a really shit writer, he doesn't mention a bunch of, like, background material, like how Davis never takes his hat off. Since his daddy went to the supermarket, he's promised never to take that hat off, and all these other background events that are far more interesting.
I would definitely prefer, like,
So
I wish we could just have rewritten the whole thing. Like, it definitely would have been a better story.
So basically, all these people are going to be sitting there watching this, and they're thinking, "Oh God, this is the return of Mr. Mac."
I made that joke like 4 minutes ago.
I didn't hear it.
Why did you think I burst into singing "Return of the Mac" when you were doing dialogue?
I don't know.
Like, Gemma, you didn't leave the room. How did you not hear me make that joke?
I was reading, probably. I was reading the chat.
Well, pay attention. This is far more important.
He paused, looking down, beyond the side of his bed.
Yawning. God, I don't want to talk to these children. Can you edit that out? No? Ah, shit.
This is a live broadcast. And that'll hold the miserable little SOBs. He was, no doubt, imagining the fear that a lot of us felt. Mr. Mac wasn't like a lot of teachers who divided themselves emotionally from those he educated. He most often treated us as if he was... Why do you keep using the word most like that? He most often treated us as if he was one of us. While we loved him for it, we all still respected him enough to recognise his authority.
Right, I'm just reimagining that thing with Steve who said, "Hey there, fellow kids."
Resuming eye contact with the lens, Mr. Mac continued.
As you can imagine, under my bandages are gunshot wounds.
It's definitely a special school.
The bullet that
They're like,
was...
why's he wearing bandages?
Has he got lots
Mickey
of
from
pouches?
League of Gentlemen.
Why does Rich Evans keep talking about me?
The bullet that was, no doubt, intended for the center of my forehead, instead shattered bones in the sides of my face. The bullet that wounded my side was meant to hit my heart. I consider myself fortunate. The reason, obviously, that I am in this state is because I directly encountered the gunman and, in my case, attempted to disarm him. Despite the initial gunshot to the...
It's good to know that he encountered the gunman and didn't trip on some bullets that are left on the ground.
Despite the initial gunshot to the side of my face, I was able to hasten my approach towards the gunman. I was shot in the shoulder instead of my heart due to the irregular movements I made in attempts to take his weapon away. As a result, I was able to snatch the M16 this young man was armed with, and I used the butt of the rifle, that's the bottom of the rifle, to impact his windpipe. When I smacked his windpipe, I quickly recoiled and repeatedly hit his arm as he went for his secondary weapon. I'm not sure how much damage I did, but I did my best.
I don't remember this happening. I wasn't it one of the jocks that took him out?
I thought that's what I remember is, like, the old lady who's, like, the worst teacher in the world, like, went up to him, told him to stop, and then I thought, like, that guy who beat the shit out of Onion Boy, like, just wildly tackled the dude, and then proceeded to beat the living shit out of him.
Initiate Kruger asks, where's Mr. Hansen? I don't know, but I'm sure he'll be back. I don't think he was killed. The students stared in awe, completely taken in by his story that was bullshit.
It was bullshit, and also explained in the way that, like if you were explaining, like, your wound, you wouldn't. That sounds like it sounds like it's been translated from someone in another language. That doesn't sound like he's not good at writing dialogue or at all. That sounded terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how? There's no way you would, even if this was a special school, if you talk like that to them, they would not be fascinated.
It's alright. So me again. Yes. Seth, the gunman, began scrambling away from, and before I could fire to disable his ability to to further harm anyone, I unfortunately and regrettably lost consciousness.
Mr. Mack's facial expression shifted, making his disappointment in himself evident. Mood. Mr. Mack struggled heavily in attempts to speak further. We all sat silently and respectfully as he found the words.
I was told that the only people who were shot after crossing me were survivors. The 4 students who were only wounded, I was informed, likely lived because of his inability to properly aim the only remaining weapon he was armed with. His disability was a result of the damage I had inflicted on his neck and arm with his own weapon.
I'm going to ask a question about the M16 thing. Now, I am not an American, you can probably tell from the way I speak. So, are civilians allowed M16s?
I'm not sure.
Because I'm sure that's a fully automatic rifle.
That's an assault rifle.
Yeah, it's a military weapon. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed, but by all means, that's a whole different discussion, But yes, they should be. Give whatever guns you want to people if they can afford them. But are civilians allowed to own M16s? Because I was under the impression they couldn't because they're fully automatic.
I don't know. I think maybe in some states. I don't really know much about gun laws. There's probably places you could buy them.
Yeah, because I've had this discussion before, and the things where because people always say ban assault rifles, and then people and then people who are interviewing protesters are always like, you understand that you can't buy assault rifles.
Mr. Hansen can stop school shootings by telling the gunman to have a seat.
No, it's true. just that's free. They'd just shoot themselves, wouldn't they?
Thank you.
Oh God, Chris Hansen. I'm late. Please forgive me and take my money, says TLK Mu3 Warrior. That you are forgiven. You have been absolved of your sin of lateness.
That means he gets to eat real, bread this week.
The M16 is not fully automatic. That's my mistake.
So it's a semi-automatic.
So from what I can see from the chat, there is there's a separate model which is available for the public, which is semi-automatic. But that's not either the one I'm thinking of is a different gun, and I've got it mixed up, or there is an alternative version, M16 version, which is military only. This is what I'm getting from the chat anyway. Yeah, you're not allowed. I thought you weren't allowed to own a fully automatic.
They should have brought in a rocket launcher.
Yeah, exactly. That would have. To
be
honest,
it's just like that one scene in Commando.
Just blow up the school. Just go Heathers. Just put a bunch of dynamite down there.
Then when the principal turns into a giant snake, you kill him. No, the mayor.
It's me, the mayor.
Yeah, it's the mayor.
It's like fucking Bruce Campbell and Cugger the Chats of Meatballs. It's a giant snake. It's me, the mayor. You are allowed automatic weapons with proper permits. Okay. Well, there seems to be some discussion about it. It's obviously quite a complicated thing, and I'm not going to get a straight. I'm not going to get a straight answer. I think to this question, but it seems very. Let's just say it seems very unlikely that this guy would have gotten an M16 to do this with. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, unlikely, but I reckon it's not the most of all the retarded implausible things. Ability, someone being able to pay someone to get his hand on a fully automatic assault rifle is not the most ridiculous thing in this story.
Yeah, I think that's and I imagine you couldn't. People saying, "Oh, at high school I couldn't get it." I imagine it was like his dad's or something. He would have stolen it from he would have stolen it from his parents.
Or he just found out he knew a guy who knew a guy or something like that. So. Unless
what? How fucking rich are these disabled kids then? If he's buying how much would a fucking fully automatic rifle cost you on the black market? Riker! In some states you can own a fully automatic guns, but you need special licenses and they're ridiculously expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's getting all that top grade disabled person money. So You get the high quality stuff.
Just upcoming Riker alerts in the chat. Just saw the super chat. I was like, I'm going to scream the name Riker. I forgot where we were. I was too interested in this discussion about whether or not the kid could have got an M16.
Well, in only seconds.
In only seconds, the entire room roared to life with bone-shaking cheers. We had realised many of us owed our lives to Mr. Mack, that without him, Seth would have been able to continue using his automatic rifle. The very same
Or
rifle
he would have run out of money. Not money, bullets.
The many lives lost that day. There was no telling where we would be without Mr. Mack's bravery and self-sacrifice. After moments of cheering, Mr. Mack continued.
As you may have heard on the news, the gunman had planted explosives around the premises that had planned to detonate once he ran out of ammunition. The explosives would have had an effect similar to what you would expect of napalm, and no doubt would have destroyed most everything within the school itself, because that's what napalm does.
Yeah, like, there's a difference between an explosive and a napalm.
Yeah. I was like, over the last couple of weeks, authorities have repeatedly scanned the premises with canine units and detection equipment to ensure the school offers an even safer environment than it did before. I hope you will all continue to be strong through this hard time, and I need you all to...
Mr. Mack paused, looking off to the side again. He continued.
I wanted every single one of you to know I am very sorry for all of your irreplaceable losses. I also want to thank Jason. He, as you are all very aware, was able to bring this event to an end. He is certainly one of the bravest among us.
Maui, say something.
I just thought something. Sorry, just go on.
Mr. Mack finished speaking and the projectors returned to the school logo. The principal of the school approached the centre of the stadium and ensured our school would continue as normal. He went through a speech on what the nation had learned about shootings and how we can all...
Getting shot with bullets is bad! Turns out...
How we can all better educate each other on helping friends who are experiencing symptoms of PTSD.
Like, what you don't know, Jake, what you don't know is that this actually takes place in an alternate universe where people have had guns for, like, hundreds of years. But in the meantime, no one has ever been shot with one before until now.
Oh, well, they only
And that's
recently
what they
find out what
learned.
guns do.
Yeah.
This school.
Turns out, like, that's why all the news from all over the country and all other country, from other countries and all over America, is because they found out that being shot by a bullet hurts and can in fact lead to death.
People die when they are killed.
Yep.
I thought that Greg didn't believe in PTSD, depression, or anything mental health related.
He doesn't. We were then excused... Well, he does now because he can use it to his advantage, but he never used to. Mm-hmm. We were then excused to an early lunch after being told...
That's why this book's fiction.
Finished up the day as we normally would once lunch was over. Abby and I held hands at every opportune moment throughout the morning as Davis hung closely by, talking about what was going through his mind during Mr. Mack's speech, just a carton of milk falling over. He also mentioned our bus driver's ongoing battle with his work regarding the damages done to our bus as a result of his evacuation efforts during the shooting. It was amazing anyone could be concerned with the financial impact so soon after the tragedy. To charge anyone for financial damage done as a result of his or her attempts to save student lives, it just made no sense to me.
No, because what you should have done is give all the money to him for him to appear and have a seat with Chris Hansen.
Abby and I returned to gym class to find most everyone it's so weird, outside Raymond and our gym teacher. Raymond wasn't injured in the shooting, so we just assumed that he wasn't ready to return to school yet. I sometimes got the feeling...
It was Rayman, wasn't it? We went to school with Rayman, all the alums.
M16 and Uncle Palpy says, M16s and napalm, is this set in Lakewood, Vietnam?
Yeah, okay, getting your hand on M16 is one thing, but he got his hand on explosives that act like napalm.
Yeah. I imagine, because napalm, you can make it yourself. So I imagine that's, story-wise, that's what he did. And it wouldn't be much like an explosive, but it would still be a very unpleasant thing to do.
Like, I love that Jenna
Could he just said, like, he strapped something, like... some makeshift explosives, just some gasoline cans.
Yeah, there are far easier things they could do. But again, it's just Greg. He's just incompetent.
Like, I love that Gemma sounds more disgusted by the idea of holding Onision's hand than she did by the school shooting.
I sometimes got the feeling Raymond was an imitation of what he thought people wanted him to be. On the outside, he was tough and rebellious, but deep down, I imagined he was likely a sensitive guy, afraid because I'm psychic, afraid of being rejected upon opening his true self up to the world around him. The substitute teacher. The substitute gym teacher walked out and asked us all to do whatever we wanted with the spare equipment they had. He then tossed basketballs, rackets, and other game equipment towards the centre of the gym. Abby and I weren't at all in the mood to play any sports or other games, so we just decided to sit by and scribble pictures on each other's hands.
You can get septicemia that way.
Not many students played much of anything during class. Most of the equipment just sat the middle. Wouldn't it be great if you're just like sick with fucking septicemia after surviving a school shooting? We were all still processing the earlier speeches and dealing with how different everything felt. No matter what they said about or did to our school from that point, it would always remind us of death. Lockdown and spell attic simply says unlock and give me your phone. Unsure what you mean by that, but okay. So we're about to head on to Chapter 9. Let's take a brief recess and talk to the chat, I think.
Sounds good.
This is my favourite part of the stream. We're going to talk to the audience. Oh, God, this is always death. Did Raymond lose his arms in the shooting by any chance? I need lamb. I gotta say, I'd forgotten all about the Rayman story until just the other day, and I started just like thinking about it. I was just doing the dishes, bored in the quarantine, and I was just thinking about Dennis's fucking Polycus voice. TLK Mew 3 Warrior just says witty message. It's like, haha, funny guy.
I think he just tossed it all. Rackets, balls, nets, crash mats, and the vault block.
According to the guy
According
to the guy with the impossible to pronounce name, licking an armadillo can cause leprosy. Some armadillos are bulletproof as well.
I don't think they are.
Yes, they are. There is a species of armadillo that it was on, what were we watching? The 72 Dangerous Animals in Latin America.
Yep.
And they were showing this armadillo that people have taken pot shots at and have either injured themselves or innocent bystanders because of ricocheting.
Yeah, I was watching a very interesting documentary.
What the hell? Okay, so, what was it? What's it guarding against? That needs to be bulletproof.
He doesn't. It's not that it needs to be. He's just flexing. Like, it's like Greg wearing a bulletproof shirt to court.
Backwards.
Actually, no. Wait, that was to protect him from the many people who want to shoot him.
If Logan's listening in, I'm worried that he'll wind up thinking Onision is the US president.
Why in God's name would we allow Logan to listen to this? Logan, I don't think Logan even knows Onision exists. Like, he's very in the dark about this side of our lives.
He just knows that we make fun of stories.
He's seen a few episodes of Bad Creepypasta, like the ones that are not particularly offensive, and that's it.
I think the last one he watched was I Hate You. He thought that was funny.
Oh, and you showed him the special one that we never show anyone about the racist mole. The episode that's never, ever, ever being shown, and I think I've got the only copy.
Oh yeah, that's the one where you drank all my gin. I'm not gonna let anyone get away with.
That was Gemma. You should have written your name on it. Like we all thought that was communal gin.
Oh, that, yeah.
And you didn't leave any for me to come back to.
You didn't write Gemma on the gin label with like marker pen or whatever. So we had no reason to believe. We had no reason to believe you even wanted any.
I bought the gin the night before and said, I'm going to have some of this when I come in from work tomorrow.
Says you.
Well, we weren't, like, I wasn't there to hear it. Ethan wasn't there to hear it. His mate wasn't there to hear it. And we had, the guests were over. Only the hospitality.
Yeah, I've no reason to think that you're even telling the truth right now. I mean, I've. How could I possibly remember if you'd said that? There's no evidence. Did you record yourself saying that? You know.
The only evidence is that racist mole and the terrible things he said. That would never be we got lost episodes that people will find out. No one will ever see that episode ever again.
I bet that there's a recording of you guys in the video going, haha, we're drinking Gemma's gin, haha.
If there is, that won't be the worst thing that was said in that video.
True.
Why did we decide that Mr. Resetti was racist?
Was that
because
not Ayrton that did that?
Okay, do you want me to say the reason why we thought Mr. Resetti was racist? Because you made a joke and then did not stop making that joke, and while we were recording it I said, let's blame it on the fucking mole. Then you kept making that same joke.
Do not drink Gemma's gin at 3 a.m. I'm afraid everyone's heard of some YouTubers that are relevant and some that are irrelevant. Okay. I remember when Kobe said Jap's eye. Yeah, I forgot that I ever said that until somebody got insanely fucking bent out of shape about it. I'm like, that's what it's called. I've never heard it called anything else.
I thought there's a scientific term for it.
The genuine, like, I know obviously it's not a scientific thing, but like, I never even stopped to think that like your dick hole had another name other than Jap's eye. Like, and I was just like, yeah, it's, and I
That's
tried.
What we're taught in biology.
I tried explaining to the guy, and he was just like getting really, really angry. I was like, because it's a slur, and I'm like, yeah, but not in this context. You don't know what the word context means. And he was just like, fuck you, racist. I'm like, oh my god.
And you were like, yes, but not for that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm racist because of the things I made Mr. Resetti say.
Did you turn Mr. Resetti into Pop from the League of Gentlemen?
No, he was way worse. He was just like a tiny Nazi. like a rambling, fast-talking, like, conspiracy theorist who would just say really dark, racist things.
Matt drank Gemma's gamer girl bathwater. No.
Get the fuck out of here.
Don't you dare.
Right, how long's chapter 9? It's another short one. It's like 3 pages. All right, we'll jump back into chapter 9, I think.
It's like Toby's gamer girl bathwater is where the money's at.
Toby, who's that? I haven't seen him in 2 months.
I saw him actually on the way to get my medication the other day. We stood but 2 feet apart from one another.
That's not far enough away. It's 2 meters, especially with his long, lanky. But Toby's fine because he's already got Crohn's disease, so he's immune to all other diseases. That's how that works.
Also, he's taller than me, so the higher the higher up he is, like it goes in a sort of diagonal.
So he has to aim down to cough on you.
Yes.
Toby's bathwater tastes like waffles and lemons.
And sadness.
That's from the waffles not being cooked. Phantom Gline, just got in from work. Can I get a summary of what I missed? You've only missed 1 chapter.
Yeah, literally, some guy came on stage and did a rambling speech about the shooting in like the most like weird if an alien came down and gave a speech about school shooting is probably the best way to describe it. And then the gym teacher was like, "I've been shot," but explained it to them as if everyone in the school was special needs, and that's all that's happened.
Gemma, are you sure it was Toby you saw, and not a tall, thin lamp? I mean, it's possible. Like, have been isolated for days.
I might start like fucking with people and just saying there never was a Toby, and I've just been doing a voice the whole time. Like slowly start removing videos that have his face in and just start gaslighting the audience.
Wait,
It's like, no, I've seen Toby. I'm like, no, you haven't. That's a manufactured memory.
Wait, I thought Gemma was 12/7. I thought you were like, oh wait, I thought Gemma was 12, and I'm like,
So no, we're just reading Onision's book. I'm not actually him.
You're gonna have like some sort of like you stay in like you decide to you're bored, so you decide to stay awake for like 4 days straight, and you just look in the mirror and it's just Onision, and he's like starts eating a bounty or something in the mirror.
The by the way,
that?
the president didn't speak at the school. It was it was like an aide to the president.
Yeah.
Apparently, the president is gonna speak to these kids though, but it hasn't happened yet. The next day, Abby asked me.
Did you say he's like a man in a trench coat, which is a weird like?
After
like
that's not very.
Coat.
He was wearing a long black coat, but I don't think that's appropriate attire after a school shooting.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's like, oh god, what is he?
He's come to someone's come to finish the job. It's the Illuminati teaching everyone the meaning of fear. And his nipple clamp, his 3 nipples.
It's fucking Toby died because you didn't love him enough. We may have gone too far with that series finale.
Do you think we should do a Discord watch of fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie or a commentary or something of it?
Oh,
Just for
the one with the Illuminati and the nipples.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I might be. It's a bit late now because obviously it's nighttime. But like, if I can't sleep, I was thinking of doing Blood Gnome on Discord tonight. If you're up for that. Or possibly
I'll probably be asleep
tomorrow. I'm doing Bride of Frankenstein, and at some point in the week we do some more movies. Yeah, guys, if you're on the Discord, by the way, or if you haven't joined the Discord yet, you should, because we have movie nights. And we will. I basically stick a movie on Google Drive, so the movie's free, and we'll just watch and do commentary. And we had a lot of fun. We've done the fucking fake mustache War of the Worlds with the CGI skeletons. We've done some weird Lovecraft movie.
Dark Heritage.
Dark Heritage, thank you. And most recently, we've done Troll 2.
That was fun.
So yeah, we don't do good movies, but the next one is Blood Gnome. So if you guys want to come along, join. If you're not in the Discord, there's a link in the description. Movie night's probably my favorite thing we do on the server. All right, so let's get back to the reading.
Oh wait, Jacob, before you get back to that, do you have do you know if there's a copies of Mouth of Madness on DVD yet?
It's released on Blu-ray. The version I've got is a German copy, but it plays fine. It's in English and everything. I was
just curious
because it just never got released. I don't think it ever got released in the UK. So I just bought the German Blu-ray, but it's Region 2, so it plays fine.
Yeah, I just remember years ago I watched it and I told you about it because it had Sam Neill in it, and we could not find a copy of it on DVD for love nor money.
Yeah, we ended up having to steal it, which I really don't like doing with films. But yeah, eventually we were able to get it on Blu-ray. So I just farted, attempted to mute the mic, but it was too late. So there you go. Right.
So next to Gemma's face, like that one picture I have of you farting in her face.
Recently got Discord, so yeah, I turn it down for that. The Mouth of Madness. By the way, those of you who have Twitter, Sam Neill posted. Sam Neill did a video called Das Bad, and it was him in the bathtub, like playing with a duck, and then suddenly, like on the other side, like in a different bathtub, but edited to look like they're there together, Hugo Weaving just appears and starts bothering him while he's trying to take a bath.
It's really funny.
Just like a board project they made together in their respective homes during quarantine.
See, this is what film stars need to be doing now. Like, it's not whining on Twitter and shit like that. Like,
yeah,
this sort of stuff.
Just do something creative. Like, you can't go to work, so just be creative.
Matt, why do you have that photo?
What photo?
Yeah, what are they talking about? Yeah, what photo? Do you know what you're talking about?
The photo of you apparently for farting in my face.
Oh, no, I didn't fart in your face. I was
It's
bringing
just like all
something
weird. It's
into
like I was like
into the
Gemma was
house. I
asleep on
can't
the
remember what it was.
couch. I have a phone out, and I thought I'll take a picture of it and make fun of her later. And Jacob's just sort of bent over in the background. It's a weird perspective thing, so I just keep saying it looks like he's farting on her head.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, I didn't know any of this occurred. I was asleep on the couch.
The next day, Abby asked me to meet her after school. She wanted to see me outside the church, where she had previously confronted me about the letter I wrote. I suppose I could have
That's
been.
right, the creepy letter.
I suppose I could have been worried. She was going to talk about something dramatic, but Abby had the quiet habit of not letting me down. I came to trust her with my heart, as it always felt safe in her soft hands.
Ugh.
Simp. As I walked up to her, she asked me.
How much have you missed me?
I replied, "How much does someone in the middle of the desert long for water?" She smiled and said,
Well, I missed you more than...
It's really funny because, in fact, he is very thirsty.
She looked around for a second, trying to think of something, only to laugh and give up on coming up with a different analogy. She said,
I missed you to a ridiculous extent too.
She pulled me in close and asked me another question.
Why haven't you kissed me?
I smiled and replied, "Well, you've kissed
You're too
every
old."
part of my face outside my lips, so I suppose I should finally give something back." Her eyes lit up and she gave me a huge smile, wrapping her hands around my neck.
Choked the last living breath out of him.
Super simp.
It's like, "It's time to die, simp."
It's like some sort of murder sting operation.
I'm very, very thirsty, so I'm going to go to the kitchen and find something to drink. Gemma, please take over for a moment.
Okay.
So, just like Onision, Jacob is also thirsty.
Could you get me a drink too?
Yes.
Thank you. Wrapping her hands around my neck, Abby got up on her tiptoes as I pulled her towards me.
I know what he's trying, but it's just choked. Abby, I'm really into being choked.
I know, so wrapping her arms around my neck, I snapped it into, and then that's the end of the story, and then we'd be happier for it. Alright, she gave me the softest kiss I had ever felt. A surge of electricity shot between us. Hopefully you got electrocuted. It felt like she was melting into me. Hopefully she melted. And that we were somehow, in that moment, becoming one. Hopefully some Lovecraftian, like, monster.
Yeah, they just fused into a giant blob.
Yeah. Oh, for God's sake. We continued to kiss as a tiny thought loomed in the side of my mind. I had...
She's not young enough.
She wasn't old enough. I had passively noticed the wind around us ceasing in movement just after our lips connected, as if the moving air itself had to stop and soak in the moment. You fucking purple prose writing motherfucker. I'm sorry, daughter fucker. After quite a few minutes passed, we began to walk home together. Our walk took us longer than usual as we kept stopping at every other tree and building to kiss more.
Gemma, just call Jacob back. Make him suffer.
It was such an amazing feeling to be so important to someone, to be so loved. Oh God, thank God.
I'm just bringing you drinking. I'm getting some chips.
Damn it.
Yeah, he's going down the shops to get them.
I am breaking quarantine just to get chips.
Breaking quarantine at 3 a.m. to get chips.
I mean, you can break quarantine to get booze.
I'm not, Gemma,
It's
I'm
the
not
same-
fucking going anywhere. I ain't leaving the house.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright. Oh God.
No, the French.
Champagne. Oh, that went too far. Okay. As we approached Abby's home, we could hear loud music being played inside, reverberating through the walls. He, father, burst out the door.
He father, is he like the father of He-Man?
It's like, he, father. He, son. I imagine he saw us through one of his dirt-stained windows. Not caring that everyone around was about to get dunked into a massive tank of his emotional instability, he screamed, "Abigail! Where have you been?"
So, what is that like? Instead of doing a voice, you just covered your mouth.
Yep. He clenched a beer.
Do better, Gemma.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything. He's not.
Just like hillbilly?
Yeah.
Inbred hillbilly?
Alright. Abigail! Where have you been? I can't do one.
Yeah, see, that's better.
Yeah. He clenched a beer in his hand as he breathed in the same way I'd expect an angry bull with spears dangling from their bleeding back to. What an image. His inhaling seemed nearly as loud as his speech as he continued. "You got some damn chores to do, and I'm sick of you coming home late every other night." Oh, thank God.
Whoa.
Good news, Jacob. We're on the second page.
Right, where am I?
You are on Abby and I.
Abby and I both knew most every time she was
Most
late.
a lot, doesn't he?
It's just a strange expression. Like, I've heard it used before, but not frequently. But yeah, he does it all the time. Most all the time, you might say.
Yeah, most.
All right, I've done like a voice.
It was because she was sitting outside her house, refusing to go in until she could determine whether or not her father was in a stable enough state to be around. Abby was squeezing my arm tightly as he continued to yell.
"You think I won't abandon you just like your mother, you little ungrateful brat? I raised you to show zero respect for me. Is that how I raised you?"
Cars continued to pass by, unresponsive to her father's outbursts. Her father continued to scream, seeming completely delusional and detached from the world around him. At that point, I wasn't sure if it was more who he was or what he was using that made him become the monster he was. After a short while of his outburst, I could see in the corner of my eye a police officer approach on foot. The officer, likely having seen this kind of behaviour on a daily basis, now stood quietly in the distance, with his work dog, just as silent as his master, looking on as well. Her father continued to rant and throw objects lying outside the house.
"Are you gonna go and answer me? Are you gonna say anything? Am I gonna have to drag you inside this house and get a response out of you?"
After throwing a couple more rocks and bottles at his house, he began to dance mockingly.
"Because this whole world doesn't give a damn about you, Abigail. I can knock you right out and down and not a soul would care. No one cares about you but me. You disrespect me?"
I opened my mouth to argue in her defense, but Abby pulled my arm, physically insisting I stay silent.
Is he throwing rocks at his own? Like, is it like? Okay, so I might have missed something, but it sounds like he came out of his house, started yelling at it, and then throwing rocks at his own house.
Just checking we didn't miss anything.
It's peculiar. It's the way it's worded.
Yeah. I'm just checking we didn't miss anything.
Maybe the house is also called Abbigale.
Right.
It turns out that house is haunted by a ghost named Abigail, and there's just been a really confusing mix-up between the ghost that's haunting them and his daughter.
Oh, her father saw my mouth move and exploded on me, quickly shortening the distance between us as he spoke. "What is it to you, punk? What do you have to say? Do you know what she is? Do you even know the first thing about this freak?" He violently shifted towards Abby, began stumbling and reaching for her. Sounding deranged, he said,
Default dancing.
"I'm gonna drag you in by your little rat tail, Abigail." I quickly stepped in front of her. In complete shock, her father impulsively swung his beer at me. It collided with the side of my skull, causing blood to pour out from underneath my hair. I remained standing, but he had trouble seeing. All I could hear was a deep grumbling tone accompanied by an irritating but subtle ringing. I looked up slowly to see, with my blurred vision, the police dog dragging Abby's dad away by his arm. From what I could make out, the cop had no interest in calling the dog off. It was as if he'd enjoyed seeing people who commit unprovoked violence suffer an even greater opposing force, as everyone knew it was over the moment the dog latched. What a sentence. I had barely taken any time for Abby to remove her jacket and press the soft interior against the side of my head. I could see her father's condition was not at all on her mind. She had chosen me, like I had chosen her, over not just one person or another, but everyone.
Sorry, Gemma. I'm eating my chips as quickly as I can.
That's alright.
Is he really slowly eating them? Like, comedically slowly, just like, yeah, just finish it off without me, Gemma. I'll just hit it in here, eating chips. In me undies.
Yeah, he's just sitting there in his undies. 30
So,
minutes.
like, Jacob, sorry to stop you there, Gemma, but Jacob, a really important question. How many times have you done a risky business in your house to all those teddy bears? Just to pass the time.
I actually haven't done that because my house is carpeted, so it's very hard to slide.
I mean, you haven't succeeded yet, or you haven't tried at all?
I haven't succeeded yet, basically.
30 minutes passed, and Abby and I were both sitting on the ground as her father sat in the back of the K9 SUV now parked in front of Abby's house. The patrolman was waiting for an ambulance, emotionless. I knew it would be gullible of me to assume he had never seen anything like this. In fact, it was probably a daily occurrence. Everyone gets numb to the routine, no matter how dramatic or strange, or how much it terrifies them being in the same house as a... What
a pointless sentence. What are you expecting the policeman to have never seen any sort of crime before?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Did you have a word limit you had to reach before you thought this was a good enough book to publish?
I just sort of wanted to extend the purple prose as much as he possibly could. This officer had a look like he had seen this day come and go 100 times before. Abby's father was just another drunk, just another evolved ape throwing his life away.
When the ambulance arrived, the patrolman asked me if I wanted to press charges. I wasn't sure what to do until Abby quickly leaned towards my ear, telling me that if I didn't, it would mean he could take out whatever anger he had on her after everyone had left, as he remained her legal guardian. And she could fall out of a window. For just as an example. Without further
With
thought,
any luck, she landed on the ground.
Without further thought, I made my choice and took the action that was in the best interest of her safety. The officer asked Abby if she wanted to have assistance with her living situation while they dealt with her father. She replied that she would stay with me. Are you sure about that? Kid's gonna need some stitches. Might be a little groggy for a few days with that head injury. She replied,
It may as well have been me, and that's all the more reason for me to stay with him. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, seriously, the kid has a head injury, though. He should probably go to the hospital. He nodded as the ambulance pulled up. Briefing the driver, he then ensured he had everything he needed to process the paperwork. Okay, and left the area with Abby's father in custody. The ambulance workers stitched me up then and there. While they were finishing up, Abby called us a taxi, which shortly after returned us to my home.
So wait, how much did he have to pay the ambulance guys?
Oh. Abby and I rested on my bed covers, still wearing our shoes and everything. My mind was too distracted by what had happened when we came in to worry about dirty blankets. Breaking the silence, Abby said, "Your bed really smells."
Yeah, it smells like you've let off a whole bunch of loads in it. You fucking.
Pride with a nose says, "Holy crap, James really is a simp." He hesitated to press charges until Abby said she'd be in danger.
You're the most loving and selfless person I've ever known.
I'm not saying this under any sort of duress here.
James does not have a
I'm
gun.
not saying it because you're the better of two terrible options.
I still felt conflicted about so many things outside Abby, but I didn't want to ruin her compliment, so I replied, "But you forgot to include yourself, Abby."
Simp!
She smiled doubtfully. I stared into her eyes, and she tried to look back, but was struggling with emotions rapidly overtaking her. She began tearing up and said,
Well, James, whatever love I have, it's all for you.
Tears began to fall down her face.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
"I love you too," I said. She started crying and pulled herself tightly against me.
I don't like this. I love you.
She whispered under her breath, continuing to cry. Together we drifted gently into a warm sleep. And that's like a nice moment for him. Like, I'm crying because, I love you, but my life's so fucked up. That's like, for Greg, that's like, what a nice moment.
Yeah. Can we officially just change the name of the series to Simp for Abigail?
It's every time we talk about how great Abigail is, I'm just like, hold on. Did this goofy motherfucker right here just compliment that female? You a simp. Abby is his entire personality.
Are we leaving it there?
Yeah, I think we've done 2 chapters. We'll talk to the chat a little while and then call it a night, I think.
So it's like there's 20 chapters. We're nearly halfway there.
Living on a prayer, my dude.
Yeah. Sally, you still working the docks?
Abby kills herself. The story ends.
No, because it'll spend like the next 20 more chapters or something about him like missing her and talking about how life can go on until he meets a new girl.
I think there's 6 more chapters after this.
No, there's 20. There's 20 No, there's in total there's 20 chapters.
So yeah, we're halfway through. Yeah. Well, almost halfway through.
Yeah, well, after we've done chapter 10, then we'll be halfway through.
Abigail's Secret Dark Souls part. No, skip the graphic sex scenes. Excuse me? Escúchame, what the fuck?
Don't spoil it for us.
Eschewed beef baking powder.
What do you get when you cross an Abbey with an onion? Call the police, Gene. Greg is a sexually invasive, menacing paedophile. SIMP. That terrifying moment before Matt corrects himself and you think there are 30 chapters total.
Yeah, I kind of was like, no. No, there's 52 pages left. Nope.
Yeah.
42 pages left.
If you just look on the I've got a copy of the thing open, but yeah, we're almost halfway through the book, so yeah, another but at least it takes up time in the fucking lockdown.
Yeah, we now have like something to do during quarantine, I guess.
Are we ever gonna get Toby?
I don't think so. No.
No.
He's somehow he's still busy. It's like I don't know how he does it.
Don't tell me he's still going to work.
No, I think he's working from home now. Just Abby plus Onion is Abaddon.
The Abaddon Hotel.
I assume they meant Abaddon the Demon, but yes, that's all.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, Bean Daddy, I told him to watch Hell House LLC. And then
you know what? Oh, no, we don't have Hell House. I was going to say we could do Hell House for movie night, but we need a DVD copy.
Yeah. We had, we've got Hell House. I asked him to watch that. And then I said, don't bother with the sequels. And he came back to me with, I watched Hell House.
I shouldn't have bothered with the sequels. Yeah, it's just like, I fucking told you. Yeah.
I watched Hell House 2. I was like,
it's like, I want Toby, says TL Game U3 Warrior. We will try to get Toby on for a stream.
The only time we can get Toby on for it won't be a Stones for Abigail one if we do, but
well, he's in the picture. He's in the Stones to Abigail picture.
Yeah, but he's we're too far in. We're halfway there, and like Toby just be all confused and be like, "What's going on?" And why are these waffles? Why are these waffles cooked? They're better when they're not cooked. That's Toby voice.
Maybe we could lure him here with waffles.
No, we can't have him in the house, Gemma. You nut.
You could sit outside at the bottom of the stairs. Could just lure him outside. Push out a microphone.
Do you think if you just tied, like you got a stick tied to the back of his head and had like a waffle hanging down in front of him, like, you know, a donkey with a carrot and a stick, you could just make him pull stuff for you?
I think we should. Well, hang on. There's Phantom glowing. Toby. Boy, I got a lot of free time on my hand. Jacob. Want to come over and read Stones to Abbigale? Busy, sorry. pretty much. Oh, you want to join us on Skype and read Stones to Abbigale? Just like, oh no, I'm snowed under. just looks over at his, like, you know, his fucking 6-pack of beer and just like stack of like romantic comedies. I'm really busy.
He just looks round. He just grabs like a bottle of Bud Light or something like that and some Lego. I'm making a ship in a bottle, Jacob. Can't talk right now.
Like throwing Lego bricks. The ship in a bottle. It's really time consuming.
Gemma, why do you have this entire plan for treating Toby like a Saw victim in your home?
Well, because generally Toby's just treated like a victim usually, but Gemma's just, you know, gotten some weird kinks recently due to the isolation. I'm all alone. No one to talk to. Gemma, I'm right here, Jacob says loudly. Jacob, there's an no Jacob. Like, you're a figment of imagination. No, I'm not. She's having Beppis withdrawal.
You haven't had any today.
Beppis withdrawal. Oh my goodness. Let's end this nightmare.
You should fill the bathtub up with Pepsi.
Such decadence.
No, it's like the lockdowns that are coming soon. Gemma spends like that all that money I sent you just on Pepsi, just fills up the bathtub. There, we're set for lockdown.
Chat, do you guys know about the sriracha thing?
What's sriracha?
Have they been told about the sriracha incident?
Well, what's the sriracha incident?
Wait, like Gemma, you were there for the sriracha thing.
Yeah,
Was
because you kept trying to poke holes in it. So, oh, you know what? This because we were talking about Star Trek Generations. Was this on the commentary?
Was this on the commentary?
Yes, it was on the commentary because it was talking about the
Fine, don't worry about it.
Nexus.
Just download the commentary. Forget I said anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. I was thinking about this because, as we all know, like Star Trek Picard is a flaming piece of shit.
Yeah.
And like the Federation is in no way like the Federation. Like it's like there's no way it got from A to B. Really, there's no way it could like turned into that. I was thinking like, how would it do that? And I was thinking, what if? Do you remember in Star Trek Generations we talked about like how does the fucking Nexus time travel thing work? Like, is there an alternative universe where Picard just disappears and the Enterprise is destroyed? And I started thinking, like, what if after that, like, you know, he went back in time but he failed. You know, he goes back in time and grabs Kirk. What if he did that but also still managed to fail? Like, he killed Malcolm McDowell's character, Kirk dies, but the missile's still sent off and blows up that sun. So he can't go back in time again, but his entire crew's been killed. And it goes on from that timeline. It'd still be crap, but...
Yeah, I mean...
You know,
to be honest, like, that would at least be... Like... That's so dark that it kind of explains like why everything's so shit. I mean, obviously, I know that quite a few of his crew members are still alive in the show, but the show is so fucking bad. It's like,
yeah. So I was thinking, like, what's a great way, like, you know, like Picard, you know, he had a chance to solve it, but he fucked up, went back in time too early, screwed up, still managed to get his entire crew killed. Kirk's dead. He's stuck on his planet. Like, maybe he, like, when they find him, he's had to eat Kirk's body to survive. Like, yeah, what's more like undignified way for the hero of the Federation? You know, worse than we piled some rocks on his body in bumfuck nowhere. It's one dude had to eat him.
It's like just Picard surviving on the remains of Kirk, starting with the face because he couldn't stand him looking at him.
Like, I remember the time we made eggs together.
And somehow that's still disrespect. That's still less disrespectful than anything written by Alex fucking Kurtzman.
Yes.
Right, I'm going to bed. Fuck all of you.
Yeah. All right. See, you guys. Well, I won't see you guys.
Yeah, we'll
anytime
speak.
soon,
We'll
hopefully.
speak soon, though. I imagine. Yeah, send me some more like lost bad Creepypasta episodes, so I can actually upload things to the channel and feel like
But
I'm
not
being
the
productive.
racist ones.
Yeah, I mean, the less racism, the better, really. I mean, I can cut out the usual sort of like plethora of N-words, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah, we still haven't got the voting of if you have five black internet friends.
Yeah, that's true. Does that count, or do they have to be? Because in quarantine, it's difficult to get 5 black mates around you to say it's okay.
Matt, do you have the Double Down the Double Down commentary we did with the Neil Breen one?
I don't think so, but I will check.
Because that one was funny.
I wasn't entirely sure if I was bringing the thing around, but yeah, I will have a whip round and look for that.
Cool. I think we've got it on my laptop somewhere, but you know.
Okay.
If you've got it, great.
Good night, says TLK Mew3 Warrior. Good night to you too. Yeah, see
Thank
you
you
guys.
everyone for giving Jacob money so he could survive this apocalypse.
Yeah, pretty much. I have to pay the rent on Monday, so yeah, genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, good
Because
night,
my
guys.
work is shut now for the foreseeable future. So cheers. Good
And
night.
mine.
Bye.
What